Hello, and today I welcome Minou Schillings. She is an Impact Innovator, design sprint facilitator, and especially focused on green sprints. Welcome, Minou.
Thank you, Michael. I'm mostly actually human-centered innovator indeed, and impact innovator, and that is the most important thing, that it's the combination between impact innovation and that it's humans, and the rest is all like focused on that. As long as we're making impact and we're changing the world, that's what we're aiming for.
Yes, and I think we get into contact because you placed a very nice post about the Earth Overshoot Day on the 22nd of August, it was last week. And I think that is really something every human is concerned about, to living on this small planet, so many people, and we need probably a decent impact to get a relief for this planet. The planet is burning, and I think therefore as well your green sprint, your green idea is very much based on it's human-centric and doing good for people and the whole world. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote a post about Earth Overshoot Day indeed, and because for me it's bizarre that we're actually still talking about that we have to push back Earth Overshoot Day. I think we have to completely change our mindset and really shift the way that we look at the earth and at nature, and we have to put ourselves back into it. And we shouldn't be talking about how to move back Earth Overshoot Day. We should be talking about how can we make every day Earth Give Back Day, and how can we make sure that at one point, a couple years from now, instead of having an Earth Overshoot Day, we have a day that we are actually having an increase in nature and an increase in biodiversity and everything all around that. Because it shouldn't be the case that people, humans living on this planet, diminishes and takes away from all the life and all the beauty that this planet has. So we completely should shift our mindset and go way beyond just pushing back Earth Overshoot Day.
I agree completely, because I think we are part of the nature and part of all living species, from flora to fauna. And yesterday I had a nice reportage about the Maya. They get in decent troubles because they overused Earth. Yeah, they really didn't realize that you can't extract all the nutrition from the ground to grow maize or whatever, or corn or whatever, and then they get into starvation. That's the part when the Maya more or less deteriorates, and that's so true all over the time in history of all living species as well. I mean, you have to be in a balance. Is a big word, but you have to be more in balance with the nature. You're part of it.
You do. Yeah. The difficulty is with balance, and also what you said with the Mayas, and that they didn't realize that they're taking too many resources. As a human being, like just one human being, you feel very small. And you feel like your impact, both negative and positive, doesn't really make a difference. And that is on one hand why we realize so late that we as humans can actually do change climate, and we can change the state the world is in. But it is also why so many people are still inactive, because they think like, I'm just a drop in the ocean. My behavior doesn't really have consequences, and it's not going to make a difference. And in both ways, it is going to make a difference. And it's impressive that the Mayas realized that like a bit quicker than we did. But we can still make a change, and we can still get into that balance. It's not too late.
Exactly. Means it's kind of like a circle of influence. Means you have to do what you can do, where you have a direct influence on. You can't always do this finger pointing. Somebody else is starting because I'm behaving well. But everybody can improve, and only can improve with its own environment. And I think it's the most things which we probably share this value. And as well, this SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, I saw it on your LinkedIn profile. They are so nicely done those pictograms? Why have you chosen them? Probably just to give us an idea, and as well probably link how you're based, how your values are based.
For me, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, are very important because they really give importance to the bigger picture. So they don't only focus on climate change or on education or on circular economy. They really take everything into consideration because it's complex and it's all connected. So if we improve education, that is going to have an impact on childbirth, and that's going to have an impact on population. If we improve, for example, upon like less racism, more inclusivity, that is going to also make a difference on how we perceive what we call buffer zones at the moment. Like you can't have climate change without people in certain areas getting very much impacted by that negatively. And without racism, if we really consider everyone equal and everyone has equal rights, and you can't have buffer zones because you're going to have to care for everyone. And that's the beauty of the SDGs. They take it all in consideration and they're really well connected. So with that, it gives the SDGs for me is sort of the global, almost like you can say, it's a reflection of systems thinking. And I think systems thinking is really the way forward. So really looking at the bigger picture and knowing that wherever you pull a string, it's not just one thing that's going to move. It's going to be a lot of things, and it all has consequences.
It's very interconnected. Means you know these words VUCA, this volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world, but it's exactly what is true, and probably what brings me to the next question is, if you look at agile organizations, or why agile organizations are so important, agile leadership, or this whole innovation management, where it's your home turf there, but this uncertain, volatile world needs a change in mindset, and probably that's exactly where you're at home, and probably can share a little bit your thoughts for the audience as well.
Yeah. True. Yeah, we set up the Green Sprint, which is a collective or a company that focuses on helping companies with sustainable innovation and sustainable development. And what we do is we take human-centered design or design thinking, and more specifically the design sprint, which is sort of the little brother of the design thinking method. It takes the design thinking mindset, which really puts the consumer and all the stakeholders at the center, and really looks at the whole process and sort of pressures it down, puts it in a pressure cooker of just 1 week. Because it's not only important that we look at our place in the world, and that we look at how we can make people and consumers change their behavior, so we will work towards a more sustainable world, and so we will accelerate the sustainable transition. But there is also urgency behind it, and that's what the beauty is of the design sprint, because it pressures it down in 1 week. And that's the most important thing, that we are going to have to make a change, and we're going to have to understand how. But it also needs to be quite fast. Then there is a certain urgency. Yes.
Exactly. It means that it's a complete agile process. It means, and it lives from what you mentioned before, from diversity. It means diversity. You need different skills, different background, experience, knowledge,
yes, it's a completely
working attitudes. Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
And looking at old companies which are still siloed in hierarchical orders, the decision processes are like bureaucracy, if you like. But this urgent problems we have with the earth, with the climate, with poverty, with people are starving, means isles will the Fidjis, I think in 20 years, when I read it correctly, they will be gone. Yeah, the Netherlands, where you're living, most of the part of it is they're under sea level. Means if you don't tackle the problem in a fast-paced way, I agree completely, you're going to be, you don't have a solution quickly enough. Yeah,
it's what we said as well, just with the SDGs, like they're interconnected, and that's the same with what companies kind of have to do. Like we can't tackle this crisis, and we can't move forward into innovation if we keep working in silos and we keep working apart from each other. Like, we're gonna just have to all collaborate. And that's why I love that more and more people constantly use the term like collaboration is the new competition, and they're really understanding that, okay, we have to do this together. And if we work together and if we share knowledge and insights and ideas, then like if all sectors do that and all functions do that, then we can really make a difference. So breaking down those silos is very, very important. Absolutely.
Exactly, and this mindset back away from this problem thinking, you have to go to the solution-focused approach. It's not a blame game. Yes, probably the old and my generation, we misused the earth. That's for sure. But we have to change the mindset and have to find solutions quickly. And that brings us probably to the next thing. Means innovation probably is the key. Or what do you think for all these problems? This can't be the administration to cut costs, cut emissions, cut. No?
For me, innovation is definitely key. Like we can't solve a challenge with the same things that got us into this challenge. And I'm not saying that technology is not a very big part of the solution. Like technology and AI and like solar and all of those, hydrogen, they're definitely gonna be a big part of the transition, of the sustainable transition and the energy transition. Absolutely. But we can't believe that it's only technology that is gonna help us in the sustainable transition. It has to be more than that, because if we don't change the way we live and consume and the lifestyle that we expect and the idea of constant and never-ending growth on a finite planet, then we can try and develop all the technology in the world, but it's just not going to be enough. So it really has to go hand in hand. And that for me is the beauty with human-centered innovation. You can really look at why are we actually consuming the way, like why are we all every day commuting, maybe not now with Corona, but normally everyday commuting in a car individually, why there are so many more efficient and better and sustainable ways to do things. And transportation is just one example. And there are many of these elements in life that just can be done way more efficient and a lot better than we're doing them right now. And we just have to really look at like what human beings want and what is it, for example, that the car gives us. Okay, we can like, it's on demand. It gives us privacy. But there are probably better solutions to also have on-demand transportation, which gives you privacy. Like the whole car sharing and product as a service is already an example of this. And there are so many of these small things that if we improve them and if we develop them in a better way, they're going to make a huge difference. And it goes way beyond technology.
Exactly. And innovation, you have different steps for it. You have this product innovation, you have process innovation and business model innovation. And as well, innovation of your living models as well. I mean, business mostly focus only on companies, but the living model, how a society is living, is as well to be innovated somehow. And I agree completely with this view. Yeah.
And business models are often companies, but I mean, for example, circular, like having a circular economy or a circular product, that is part a business model, and that is part the company or the producer that needs to have like a sense of ownership or a process in place that actually circularity makes it possible, that it's made possible. But your consumer also has to understand the importance of circularity and taking care of a product and bringing it back to the owner. So there is always this connection between where a business model is purely business and where a business model intersects with like real life.
I agree. You have this called cradle to cradle approach. Means if you're buying a washing machine and then after 10 years you throw it away. But why only just lease it, or they produce a washing machine, taking it back and bring you something new and just using the old spare parts, and then you get a more circular use of raw materials, of resources. And this circular models or cradle to cradle models are the key. But they probably, therefore, what is your experience? The mindset, is it mature enough for people, or what is missing there? it's a job for university, for schools as well, to educate mindset?
I think it's a job for all of us. For example, with a circular product, it's definitely also a job for the producer to educate the consumer on the product and on the impact of the product and on the importance of circularity. But it's also for all the consumers, I would say, they also have a certain responsibility to look at the impact of their life and their consuming behavior. And we were talking about it the other day, actually. Like, at the moment, it's quite difficult to do grocery shopping in a sustainable way. Like, if you don't have the time to go separately to the baker and the farmer and all of those like separate small shops, and you're gonna have to go to the grocery store because you have a busy life, it's quite hard. There are so many certifications and there are so many different kinds of plastic and different kinds of materials that, like, okay, do you want to go with a plastic packaged product because then like it's lighter, so it's less CO2 emissions, or do you want to go with a glass jar because you can recycle it better? Like, what is the real impact? Like, even if even as a sustainability like professional, and I've spoken to many people and asked many people this question, like, you've been working in sustainability for quite long, do you feel like a newbie or professor? And many of them say, like, we're still a newbie. And if even people who think and breathe and dream sustainability the whole day can't figure out what they should buy in the grocery store and can't like really figure out their own impact because there's just not enough transparency, how can we expect it from consumers that they make the sustainable choices? So I think in that sense, it's definitely the responsibility and the task of consumers, but also producers, universities, everyone. Because in the end, we're just going to have to build a whole complex sort of lifestyle and transparent system around what we produce and how we're using it. And we need everyone for that, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I can only remember when long time ago, I'm quite old, when I went shopping to grocery, even to a budget, and then they wrapped it in paper. Now everything is put in plastic. It's that today you can buy peppers all over the year, strawberries. I mean, most of the consumers even doesn't know which stuff is growing which season. They even don't know season for vegetables or fruits, because everything is accessible 165 days a year. And this mindset has as well to change. It makes no sense to buy probably a pear grown in Chile for 20 cents for nothing.
We can educate people on that. Like, why are we not putting on products if it's in or out of season? Why are we not telling them what the actual emissions is or how many kilometers it had to travel? The other day I was reading an article about like shrimps from Norway, and many people look at like the package or at like when you're buying fruit, like, okay, this fruit comes from there, and then they choose the one that is closest to home. Norway is not per se super far away from the Netherlands, so you would say, okay, like I would prefer shrimps from Norway over shrimps from Canada or something. But then I learned that the shrimps are fished in Norway, peeled in Morocco, packaged in England, and sold in the Netherlands. And that just blew my mind. It was like, even if you think it's not that far away, it's still the distance that it travels. You just don't know. And that is absolutely an issue. And with human-centered innovation, we can make a change there. Like, we can figure out, what do people want to know? What really makes them change their behavior? How can we educate them? How can we nudge them into sustainable living and into sustainable transportation and everything like that? So
I think it's about this mindset, this education has to be started at school and families, and has to start the mindset with everybody. It means a little bit like Corona. If I'm looking at the moment at the TV in Germany, everybody is blaming it. It's coming from foreign countries into Germany. Well, it's nonsense. It's probably Germans doing vacations in Croatia and Spain caused the infection rate going up there. It comes always back to the mindset, and this our times today, they are volatile, they are uncertain, they're complex. You need a different mindset to cope with the situation, and you have to do constant learning, and you can't rely. And you're right, if it's Norway shrimps, yes, but they are peeled in Morocco. 10, 20 years ago they went to Poland, but in Poland now the salaries are too high, and it's always this game. You want to have everything for very cheap, but you and for high quality, what doesn't fit together.
Yeah. It actually always, this conversation always makes me think of, there is a series on Netflix that was a while ago. I think it's called The Bad Place, or no, it's called Good Place. And it was about like that at the moment, it's too complex to go to heaven. They're like, back in the days, you could make good decisions or sustainable decisions based upon like, it was really easy, but today, like, you can try, but it's just too complex. And that's a big problem. Like, we should make it as easy as possible to live sustainable, and we should make it a possibility for everyone, and not only for people who do have the time or the resources to make sustainable choices. No, everyone has to be able to make sustainable choices, and I think that is our biggest task.
Everybody can participate. I think that's the message, and you can't plan everything up front in detail. That's not the thing, but you have to go in the proper direction every day, and that's, I think, the what I didn't learn at school. Probably it was more you need a roadmap for a completely designed final product, and that way of thinking changed as well in daily life. You only know the direction and have to do every day a proper step into this direction.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work anymore. You need to work towards a certain purpose or a certain vision. We have to be agile, like, because it all changes so fast. Like, the world is just developing and changing on such a rapid pace that, like, agile is almost the only way to cope.
Yeah. What would your tips for companies which are still wants to transform to a more agile, to a more innovative, open organization? What would be best advice? What are first 3 steps they should do?
Oh, wow.
Or 4 advices, or but just, you don't have to count to 3. Even if you have only 2, it's valuable.
But the first thing I would do within, like, if you want to become more innovative as a company, I would really look at the corporate culture and at the processes within a company, because you can try to, like, okay, we now have a KPI and it's focused on innovation, and we're just gonna have to be innovative, and we're gonna do all these programs and everything. But if your culture doesn't support innovation, if ideas are shut down, if they're suggested by people in certain roles, if you don't have the process in place that makes it possible that a certain idea or a certain concept or innovation process really reaches the whole through the whole culture, through the whole company, and it gets blocked at some point, because it gets blocked because maybe KPIs are not aligning, or because certain people within the company are not communicating. It will be very painful if an innovation is stopped by that. Plus, another thing as well is, I think, the sense of ownership and buy-in. Often what we talked about before as well with silos. For example, I don't know, the R&D department or the marketing department comes up with a good idea. They had a brainstorm session with the whole team, and they're like, okay, we're going to make this happen. But they didn't ask the other departments to participate. And then it's just going to block. And there's not a buy-in, or there's not an understanding, or they don't understand the needs, and then it clashes, and then it stops there. And those are all cultural things. So I would actually advise first to look at that, like, make sure that an idea can really flow easily throughout the whole organization, and that when you come up with ideas, that there is buy-in, and especially very important, ideas and solutions are not always suggested by the people in the senior roles, or by the CEOs, or by the people who shout the loudest or talk as
with the
first.
most the lighthouse effect.
I think that's very important.
Yeah. Yeah, but I see that point, and I think it's kind of this dysfunction in companies is typical. You need, first of all, trust. Means people have to know you are humans. You can do errors, and nobody's laughing at you because you're learning. You're a learning organization, and with that comes as well commitment. You only are committed. I think this lack of commitment you mentioned, the commitment only starts if you are having buy-in. If you were asked at the first place and had your say in something, because it's sure you need this decision had to be made, but at least you should have your say in that, and you have to buy into decisions, because if you want to go on this mission of this decision, you can't do it if you don't behind it.
And that's the same with the design sprints. Like the design sprint is a couple of days, and in the end, the best way would actually be if people didn't know whose idea it was, or if the idea didn't really come from one person, because it's almost never that one person just suggests something and that's the innovation. It's always a build upon. It's a collaborative process. Like someone suggests something and that sparks someone else's brain. And for me, with the sprint, what the best thing is, and why I like it so much, is because it doesn't silence some people and it doesn't give other people the platform to be the loudest. So it's really more of an alone together process, where everyone gets the opportunity to actually pitch in, and where an idea or a suggestion isn't valued because who puts it forward, but it's valued because of what the idea actually is. And that is very beautiful. And in that way, you can also come to an end conclusion, because you all feel ownership and you all have you have buy-in. Yeah.
You have buy-in, and in the end as well, you get acknowledgement from if it is a success, and then everybody is acknowledged as well.
As a group, yes.
As a group, and you have a group objective. Not only you run behind an idea of a CEO or whoever has this idea. I mean, exactly. And your company you're working for, the audience, if they want to transform their company, they can go straight to you as well, I guess. Yeah, and then you will do in the design sprint the first ideas how to do that.
We always do a design sprint with a company. We would never do it for the company, because then again, it doesn't make any sense.
Sure.
We're not just a consultancy that will throw a bunch of ideas at you and go and work with it. No, we really facilitate the process, and it's a team effort. And most important is that the people in the company, the individuals that are part of the sprint, that they put forward their knowledge, and we will ask experts to pitch in, and we will test our prototype with consumers. So in the end, we facilitate the process and we connect, but it's really a collaborative a collaborative task, a collaborative project of everyone. But a sprint is, we do a sprint at the moment that a company knows its challenge. So they know what sustainable challenge they wanna tackle. They have a clear target group, but they're not sure yet how to tackle it, or how to develop this solution. If a company only is not there yet, so they do have sustainable ambitions, but they haven't really figured out in which direction, or do they have an innovative culture, or are they ready? Then that is sort of pre-sprint work. So before we start with a sprint, we will go into the company and look at the innovation culture, and maybe talk with them about sustainability and the different options you have, different business models, opportunities, everything we could do, or of course would someone else do it, do a life cycle analysis and really look where the opportunities are. So there are many parts that you can do before a sprint and after a sprint. It's just it's a part of the process, and the whole process is accelerating the sustainable transition. And it starts with a company has sustainable ambitions, and it ends with the company has an implemented sustainable solution, and the green sprint is a part of that.
And that you're doing it not only for product and process, as well for the organization, to find new organization forms, to agile organizations, or
no, it's mostly product and service, product process service. Not per se at starting new businesses or new business models or starting with startups. Like I've done quite a lot of innovation process a couple of years ago. There were always cross-functional, cross-sectoral, with like a bunch of people who were put together in a team, and we're gonna focus on like a social or a sustainable challenge. The difficulty with this was there were like more of like startups, startup accelerators, or bootcamp kind of situations. The difficulty was at the end of the week or the end of the couple of weeks of the process, there was a great solution, and it was well thought through and it was tested. Only the team was a team of people who were put together to learn from this process. And after this, they went back to their like day-to-day job, and yeah, they kind of lost momentum, and you lose buy-in, and people just kind of forget about it, and then it ends up somewhere in the back of like a folder or a shelf or somewhere in someone's computer. And that's a pity, because there are so many great ideas that just don't really get started because of like it's a randomly thrown together team. And that's why we choose to really work with companies, because we think that's where we can really make impact.
Yeah, I think that's I know from my own, it's so important. It's they have to be completely behind it, and not only a random diced team, which is then lost after 2 months because they're going back to their old job. That makes no sense. And the time is passing so swiftly. I mean, it's really half an hour more or less. I just want to give you the last thought. I mean, you mentioned already what is your advice for the culture. For the final word, innovation and overshoot day. That was the start, and we ended up more or less anyway in the complete innovation management of product, service, and organizational problems. What is your just a final word for the audience about innovation and overshoot day? Yeah.
Innovation overshoot day. And the thing with overshoot day is that every small change we make, every time we change a certain element of our lifestyle, it pushes back overshoot day a couple minutes or a couple days or a couple weeks even. I think, I don't know the numbers precisely, but if the whole world would stop eating meat for a certain amount of days, it will push overshoot day back a couple of days. And of course, we're not going to just stop eating meat from one day to the other. There's innovation needed for that. We're not going to stop commuting in individual transport. There's innovation needed for that as well. So in that sense, like innovation and making small changes and making changes in our lifestyle, it's got to push back overshoot day by day, until we push it back all the way to the end of December, and then even further into January, and try to make it Earth Give Back Day, and that we're really starting increasing our natural resources and in our biodiversity, and not just aiming for minimizing the decrease and minimizing the loss.
That's thank you. I think it's very, very good thought. Means you need a neutral imprint. You don't need give back is even better than even being neutral. I agree completely. Thank you, Minou. Thank you very much.
That was very interesting. Thank you.